When I arrived at Denison 6 years ago and some change, I knew I would love it. I mean, what's not to love, right? Great liberal arts college in a wonderful part of the country, financially healthy, fantastic faculty, all that kind of stuff. What I can say for certain 7 years into this job is that I never, ever, ever expected to fall in love with the place as much as I have with this one. And I know I speak for my best friend's spouse of 28 years who joins me in that view. At its core, Denison's about relationships. It's what you picked up last night if you were with your kids and with your kids' friends. Every good school in the country attracts smart young people. That's not particularly hard to do. The students here go way beyond that. We have students who score off the charts in terms of emotional intelligence. We have students who are empathetic, who are respectful, who are developing relationships and friendships that will last them a lifetime. I often say we had 9,000 applications last year for 610 incoming students. Apps are up 80%. But what I say over and over and over again to high school counselors is we're not going to do what a lot of other schools have done, which is to change our DNA. We love that our apps are rising. We're not interested in chasing SATs and GPAs. We'll let other colleges make that mistake over and over and over again. Our litmus test is different. On May 1 of every year, we want every college counselor in the country to say the same thing, that the students who decide to go to Denison are the kinds of people you know in 10 to 15 years you're going to want to work for, live next door to, marry, serve on a board with. We're looking for human beings and the kinds of people who are going to make the world a better place just by being in it. That's a long way of saying to our alums, this generation of students carries on your legacy. And if you want to feel proud of your alma mater, stop a student today, any student, tell them you've never been to Denison before, you're here with a kid or a grandkid, and tell me about Denison. Stop a parent and ask the same thing. And to the parents in the room, I know how hard it is to raise kids. I'm trying to raise two successfully, one hopefully successfully. Just thank you. Congratulations on the young people you've managed to raise, and thank you for allowing them to be Denisonians. So what I want to do, I want to talk about the college a little bit, and I thought I'd break my remarks up into three parts. I want to talk a little bit about strategy. So as a college president, I'm obviously paying a lot of attention to what's going on campus today, but I'm also paying a lot of attention to what's going on 3-5 years from now. It is probably the most disruptive time period for higher education in the last 50 years. It is a time period that is both, where we're watching higher ed both differentiate, and we're also watching higher ed bifurcate. We happen to be doing really well when many other liberal arts colleges are struggling. And I want to talk about strategically what we're trying to do. I then want to turn my attention from 3 years out to 30 minutes out and just talk a little bit about campus issues, things we're paying attention to this year as we welcomed back 2,300 students to campus and are off to a good start, but it's a start with the normal challenges you would expect. And then I want to end by just talking about facilities a little bit. Recent alum who I adored when she was here, and now it looks like she's thriving. So let me start with strategy. So 4 years ago, we launched a strategic plan. The strategic plan was really designed to help us do what liberal arts colleges do well, but do it even better, but also to pivot in ways that I really believe liberal arts colleges have to pivot if we're going to stay healthy in what has increasingly become a really competitive higher ed landscape. And we're really focused on three things. The first is something I've already talked about, which is relationships. It's what defines Denison. It's what makes every great liberal arts college great, but I truly do believe we do it bigger, better, and bolder here. Part of that is we've been focused on student-faculty relationships. For generations, that's what's anchored the student experience. And if you could measure the commitment of a faculty to its students, and you could do it for every college in the country, I would bet a sizable part of our endowment that we would finish, if we didn't finish one, we'd finish in the top 5. But this is a different generation, the iGen generation. And we've been doing a lot of work with our faculty on what is this generation like, and how do we need to mentor differently with the generation that isn't going to communicate via email, where text messaging has become common, and where they're interested in issues, all kinds of different kinds of issues. So heavy focus the last couple of years on student-faculty relationships and on that mentoring quality. And I just want to throw one fact out there. We know that whether you connect with a faculty member in college is one of the single biggest predictors on success in life. We know that despite the fact it's the single biggest predictor, it happens for less than a third of all college students in this country. And we know that figure at Denison hovers about 91%. The second piece of relationships we've been focused on is peer-to-peer learning. One of the things I love about Denison, and they put this mic on me because they think it will cut down on the number of sarcastic comments that I make in front of 500 people. But I also know they can edit stuff out later too. A lot of great New England schools where I've spent most of my life have students from all 50 states, but in many ways, they're very much regional schools. The vast majority of their students come from the kind of Washington, New York, Boston area. That's not Denison. We are diverse by every conceivable metric. We are diverse by race and class, ethnicity. We are remarkably diverse by geographic orientation. We're about a third about a third urban inner city students, about a third more rural, slightly more conservative students, and about 40% more suburban students. So Denison really begins to feel like a small university. This is a place that just is a microcosm of the world our students are going to graduate into. And we're just doing a tremendous amount of work on campus, helping students see that as something that's positive and helping them develop the skills, the values, and the habits to both thrive and lead in a diverse world. If they can do that, they will be successful professionally, and they will lead wherever they live forward in the right kinds of ways. And I'll just give you one tiny example. You may disagree. I am not very hopeful that we are going to have a civil or productive presidential race. It's likely to be very polarizing. But we're preparing already on this campus for how do we do it differently? How do we approach this next election cycle, which is going to be polarized and probably nasty at a national level, but how do we do it on this campus so that students who hold different views can actually listen, hear, and learn from each other, and then learn to work effectively together? So that's the first. We're just focused a lot on relationships. It's something that makes Denison unique. Now that I've had 2 kids go to larger schools, I realize how special that really is, because at a large school, there may be lots of people, but you find a small group and then you hold on to it for dear life. At Denison, our students are forming relationships across the campus. Second thing we've done. In my own view, as somebody who loves the liberal arts and cares deeply about the liberal arts, I also believe that liberal arts colleges have been too slow to pivot and to make sure that we're preparing students to succeed professionally. I want students to have a great 4 years. I want to hand them that diploma, and I want them to say thank you with a tear in their eye. But I don't ever want to hear a student come back in 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years and say it was the best 4 years of their lives. That's not our goal. Our goal is for our alums to come back in 50 years and say, my life turned out better than I ever thought it could, and Denison played a large role in that. I want Denison to be known by parents as a place that unlocks the potential of students to be the architects of their own lives. And so we're just doing a tremendous amount of work making sure that we're providing the kind of liberal arts experience that's going to prepare students to launch professionally. As many of you know, we launched a whole new suite of academic programs a couple of years ago. Global Commerce, first liberal arts college in the country to have a data analytics program, narrative journalism, financial economics, health, exercise, and sports studies. Those programs have been great, but what's been really great about launching those programs is things we've learned about ways to take all of our academic programs, to keep them firmly rooted in the liberal arts, but to do things slightly differently, to close some of those skills gaps. We launched the Knowlton Center for Career Exploration. And for any parent in the room, please, please, please ask your kid when you see them today, have you read Knowlton Notes, which is coming out every week? And if they're a sophomore, ask them how many times they've read this week's sophomore edition. What's going on in the Knowlton Center is spectacular. We are truly, truly reinventing how liberal arts colleges prepare students for professions. We spent $1 million this summer supporting students doing career-related activities. We want to use the 60% of the year they're here for the liberal arts, and then we want to recapture that other 40% to do more of the pre-professional career exploration work. First Look, a program that's helping students understand what career possibilities are. A lot of work with mentoring and coaching. Last week, we had 70 alums on campus, including Terry Jones, one of our alums right here, who have been highly successful entrepreneurs on campus with 60 of our current students for a 2-day seminar on startups and entrepreneurship. So we're doing a tremendous amount of work on career exploration, staying rooted in the liberal arts, but closing the skills gaps, getting students involved early, opening up their eyes to what the world of work really looks like, and then helping them launch professionally. Some of the work I'm most proud of is the work we're just starting right now, which is also supporting our students 5 years out, right? Because for many of our students, that first 5 years out will be effortless, but for most it won't be, and we want to continue to be there for our students as they launch professionally. The third thing we're doing, from my perspective, One of the other challenges that a lot of good private colleges face that they can't do anything about is they happen to be located in very rural locations, in communities that are fairly broken when there's not a lot to do. It's just kind of what's happened as the country's developed in different ways. From my perspective, we have one of the best locations of any liberal arts college in the country. The campus is beautiful. In fact, the weather is now like this year-round, even in the winter. And we actually have an app. It's a new app. It's called Denison Weather, and it actually shows that to be true. The data's not real, but in today's environment, I think you're allowed to make it up as you go along. Beautiful campus. Granville's idyllic. But I'm going to change, if people have heard this statement before, I'm going to change my statement. I used to say we were 25 to 30 minutes from one of the fastest growing cities in the country. That's no longer true. At some point in the last couple of years, we actually became part of the larger Columbus ecosystem. Granville's become a bedroom community of Columbus, and the growth of Columbus is huge for us. There's 40 global companies within a 15-minute drive of campus. 3 weeks ago, our global commerce students spent half a day in Granville with somebody who just moved here, runs about a $500 million import business from China, talking about trade wars. Just who's living in Granville, our ability to pull on that labor for career coaching, our ability to greatly expand in the arts because of the growth of the arts in Columbus is just huge. Students acting on stages, more music faculty. The growth of Columbus provides strategic opportunities for Denison to do what most private colleges can only dream about. So that's what we're doing strategically. We're grabbing onto our core, which is the relationships. We're updating it for a new generation of students. We are reinventing how liberal arts colleges prepare students for the professions, and we're leveraging the heck out of the fact that we woke up 200 years into our history and found ourselves part of this growing, interesting, entrepreneurial, arts-oriented metropolitan region. So let me switch. That's the kind of strategic stuff. We're also heavily focused, as you would imagine, on just campus life. One of the things I love about being a college president is I wake up every day living on a campus with 2,200 of the most amazing 18 to 22-year-olds you'd ever want to be around. If you lack hope about the future, come spend a couple days here. This is a generation that is complicated, but it is a generation that cares deeply, that is ambitious, that is creative, that is empathetic, that is respectful, and there's a lot of great stuff going on this campus. The other thing I love about being a college president, I'll look at Dr. Kennedy as I say this, when the academic year starts, we never quite know what the year is going to look like. And every year presents challenges, and those challenges are always important. And they're always difficult. So we are focused on a number of issues. At the top of the list, this will come as no surprise to the parents in the room, is a heavy focus on health. I have 2 older kids. I have a 25-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And I'm really struck by the health challenges our 13-year-old and her friends have that our 25-year-old just didn't have. And I think it's a lot of different things. It's the pace of modern life. It's the political moment. It is clearly the iPhone in the way it has infused her life in ways it didn't for a 25-year-old. I never thought I'd be talking to a 13-year-old and 10 of her friends about vaping. The challenges for this generation around health are acute, they're real. We're now just learning, to give you one small example, that one of the biggest impacts of the iPhone on 13-year-olds is the impact of the screen on their brains. So the melatonin, which helps them sleep, they just don't have enough of it to go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. So we're now, all of us 13-year-old parents in Granville are buying them glasses on Amazon to help them sleep better. It's just that the health challenges are real, and they're not going to go away soon, and we're heavily focused on it. I do want to, Dustin, can I get you to stand up? Dustin Bretlinger is now our first head of, we pulled him away from the University of Connecticut. They are no longer speaking to us, which we're fine with. Our basketball team was going to play their basketball team. Now they say they don't want to play us. It's all good. So Dustin's come here to really oversee all of our health efforts on campus and to take a real community-based approach to it. Unlike a big state school that's only committed to providing a very narrow pre-professional education, we're trying to produce human beings. And health is an important part of the liberal arts. So we're just doing a lot more work, talking to students about nutrition, about exercise, about sleep. If they don't do those 3 things, it's kind of like building a house without a foundation. We're then talking to students a lot about all kinds of seminars, workshops that we're doing across campus in residential halls with athletic teams in the arts complex, in classrooms, to help students develop emotional agility. We need to help this generation. We need to give them the tools that they deserve to be able to take control of their own health. I'm really proud of the work we're doing, and I am not Pollyannish. There's a lot of work left in front of us. We've had our challenges on this campus. What was really frightening to me this summer was not looking at our data, but looking at the national data and realizing these are a national set of challenges that aren't going to go away soon. And I would like us 10 years from now to be known as the college that really got it right. So I want to thank Dustin. I want to welcome him. And I would really encourage you, again, they have a newsletter going out. We're trying to do there's a lot of opportunities for students on campus, but those opportunities only matter if they take advantage of them. So please, please, please encourage your kids to be paying attention to what's going on out of Whistler, but also what's going on across campus. Second thing, heavily focused on issues of social inclusion, as I alluded to it a minute ago. I love the fact that our campus is diverse. I love the fact that we have more and more students coming each year who come on our campus and they sense that this place is more diverse, more dynamic, more relevant, more interesting than other great liberal arts colleges, and so they're drawn to campus about that. But that doesn't always make our campus easy, right? When you bring a lot of people to a place who have come from very different backgrounds, who see the world differently, who don't have a lot of experience in those kinds of settings, we have our fraught moments and we have our explosive moments. I'm going to say something that's counterintuitive. I love this campus the most when we're having those explosive moments, because those are the moments when we are all learning from each other and when the campus is moving forward and when we have a fighting chance to do something that we hope we will model not just for higher ed, but for the country and world at large. But issues of inclusion, of respect, of civility, of kindness, all those kinds of issues about community are, again, front and center in work we're doing on campus this year. And then there's a whole range of other issues that I'm happy to talk about. But those are really kind of front in mind. Last issue I want to talk about, and then I'm happy to kind of open it up to questions. We're also paying a lot of attention to facilities. You know, one of the things I knew when I became a college president is I would spend a lot of time working with faculty on curriculum. We'd spend a lot of time focused on admissions. I never, ever imagined as a college president I would spend so much time thinking about leaky pipes and ceilings that are cracking and all kinds. You know, we don't think about it, but we basically sleep 2,200 people every night. We feed 2,200 people. We have a big and growing infrastructure. So we're just doing a lot of work around facilities. One of the things I feel fortunate about is I inherited a college thanks to my predecessor, Dale Noble, and our chief financial officer who was here for a long time, Seth Patton, where we had very little deferred maintenance on campus. That's one of the ways that colleges get themselves into trouble, and we just haven't allowed that to happen. And I would like to leave the college, not anytime soon, but at some point, for somebody who comes after me in the same shape. So we started work this summer to renovate every residential hall on campus over the next 4 to 5 summers. We did extensive work on 5 residential halls. I think we touched a total of 8. That's big work for us, important work. So many facilities at Denison are fantastic, but our residential halls are tired. The bones are good, but they're tired. So we are doing everything from replacing bathrooms to carpeting to lighting. A lot of places it's cosmetic, but a lot of places it's structural as well. That work will be ongoing. We have now opened up, and I'm so, so deeply proud of this. We've now opened up the Michael D. Eisner Center for the Performing Arts. And I'll make just one comment. And I don't mean this in a political sense. I mean this more as a sociologist. I know of no society in the last 2,000 years that has stayed open, free, and just without strength in the arts and humanities. We cut them at our own peril. We are doing it on too many college campuses and in too many communities, and I'm just really proud of this community that in that moment, we've just opened up a state-of-the-art facility that will position Denison as a top liberal arts college for arts-oriented students who don't want a conservatory. So if you want a conservatory, there's lots of places to do that. But if you want to come to a school where you can be a biochem major, you can be a religion major, you can be a PPE major, and you can still act or play a musical instrument at such a high level that you might still be able to do it professionally, Jen Gardner, Steve Carell, recent alum Ben Jacoby acting on Broadway, Denison's your place. Our faculty have deserved this building for decades, and I'm just glad we finally got it open. If you haven't been down there, please stop in today. It's really wonderful. And what I love about it, consistent with other building projects we've done on campus, it's not a building that was built for famous people to come do things on our campus. It was a building built for our students to work with our faculty to do art, to make art. It is a design lab for them. You already are feeling the sense of community in there. We moved the front doors of our library back to the front of the building this summer. That may not sound significant, but that's something that's 60 years in the making. And that has a long history behind it. And then just lots of other facilities. If you were in Slater, you've noticed some stuff in there. I do want to mention one last facilities project, which I hope when you are here this time next year, that you will see lots of actually I'll mention two more. I hope when you're here this time next year that you will see, well, I hope you actually don't see a big crane, but I hope you see lots of other construction stuff right across the street from the parking garage as you're walking down the stairs into Deeds Field in that hill where we plan, I was going to say hope, but we don't hope anymore. We now plan to break ground right around this time next year on our new wellness center. We would not be there if it wasn't for some parents. And I just want to thank some parents. When we first proposed this to the board, we said it was time to replace Whistler. The board said, yes, it is time to replace Whistler. When we went back to them with a incredibly ambitious project that isn't about replacing an infirmary, but is about creating a hub for wellness in a liberal arts way in the middle of our campus, they got really excited. We then showed them the price tag, and they were a little bit less excited. And then I say what I always say when something's probably not doable: we can make this happen. And it was some parents, I can't say this enough. It was some parents who stepped up and made some early gifts that said to the board two things. One, we can raise the money, but more importantly, it said to the board, this is important. This is something parents really care about, and we need to move on, and we need to move on now. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. And we are finishing up drawings. We would break ground sooner, except you can't hire labor in Columbus right now. It's not the plans, it's not the money at this point, it's just lining up construction crews in this fast-growing city. Here's the last facilities issue I want to talk about. We probably don't have a lot of parents of seniors in the room, but we probably have a few. So your children will be the last students ever to graduate from Denison when every senior doesn't have an apartment. That's a clumsy sentence, right? Let me say it in a different way. Moving forward, every senior at Denison will have an apartment to live in. So we have now broken ground on Silverstein Hall, 165 beds, but it will create a quad for our seniors that we're pretty excited about. And it will give the seniors a sense that they're living a little bit more independently, which I think will be good for them. It'll have, the first floor will have, I think, I'm gonna look at Laurel as I say this, a coffee shop that will kind of turn into Weinberg at night. It'll have a convenience store. It's a great project. Really want to thank Jonathan Silverstein, who may or may not be here for helping us do that. Right down the hill from that, we will open up in a few weeks our social lodges. And that will also give our students something, and I know you're hearing a lot about this, so when you're hearing about this tonight at dinner, remind students that this is something that students proposed and that students have actually designed. They designed it at about twice the cost that I had thought about. But in fairness, you can't say to students, you come up with a solution, you learn design thinking and design it, and then we'll build it, and then not do it at the last minute. So actually, it's a great project, and their minds and imaginations. I mean, this generation is so much more creative than certainly than I was at that age or this age. And these lodges are going to be great, and they will, I think, give students social spaces that they've needed for a long time. And what I love about the lodges is they're next to each other. So our hope is on a Friday or Saturday night, you have 4 groups of students from 4 different corners of campus doing 4 different kinds of things. So it'll just give students more social options and better spaces to do them in. And again, as we get ready to open up them, people don't necessarily all wake up every day and say, please change things on me. I want to thank a lot of our student leaders who have really stepped up this fall to get us ready to open. So that's kind of the state of the college. Feel really good about what we're doing strategically. All of our metrics are moving in the right direction. Feel really good about kind of the day-to-day management of the campus and campus issues. It is a challenge. This is probably the first time since the late 60s that every major social issue in the country is playing itself out on college campuses. We are kind of ground zero. I find that exciting. I find it challenging, and there's not a generation of young people that I'd rather do that work with than this generation, than the iGen generation. And then facilities, just continuing to keep up on our campus to make sure that our students, faculty, and staff have the facilities they need to give our students a life-changing education. I want to end where I began, and then I'll open it up. I really meant what I said at the beginning. I'm just deeply honored to serve this college. I'm deeply honored to be a Denisonian. I'm deeply proud to be able to work with our faculty. I stand in awe of our staff and what they do for this college every day, often in hidden ways. And I feel lucky, quite frankly, to live on a campus with our students and to be able to work with them, and with this generation, to be able to learn and grow with them. So thank you for what you do for the college. Thank you for being here for Big Red Weekend, and thank you for letting me be part of this college with you.